Welcome to Magnify Your Message. Inspiration magnified. Hey there, I'm Cheryl Hunter. Welcome back to another episode of Magnify Your Message podcast. I help established experts leverage the power of major media to get themselves, their brands, their business, and their message out in front of millions. In today's episode, we're talking about how to land the absolute best publicist in the world. If you know that being in major media would change the game for you, you do not want to miss this episode. So hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. If you've been listening for any amount of time, you know that I am declaring war on social media. Specifically, the lie that we've been sold about social media as business owners. The idea that if you just post enough on social media, if you just gain enough followers, if you just go viral once or twice, then suddenly all of your lead gen problems will be solved forever. Clients will come flooding in, money will start and continue flowing, you will become the go-to expert in your field, and etc. But it just isn't true. What actually happens? You spend hours grinding out content, you post consistently, you engage with other people's stuff, you follow all the advice of these so-called social media gurus, but at the end of the month, you look at your bank account and drumroll, nothing. Maybe you get a few inquiries from people who want your lowest price option. Maybe you attract some tire kickers who waste your time, but the real high-paying clients who respect your expertise, who are ready and able to invest in what you offer, yep, they're nowhere to be found. And you know why this keeps happening? Because all attention is not created equal. Think about it this way. When someone is scrolling through TikTok or Instagram, what are they really doing? They're killing time. They're bored. But while business owners are fighting for scraps of attention on social media, there's this entirely other world that most business owners are totally ignoring. A world where people actually pay attention, where they sit down and focus, where they're actively looking for experts and solutions to their problems, and they're ready and able to invest in premium high-ticket solutions. Of course, what I'm talking about is major media, traditional news media, TV segments, magazine features, newspaper articles, the stuff that actually moves the needle. Now, okay, I know what you're probably thinking. Look, I have a lot of calls. My team and I have a lot of calls with a lot of experts and business owners. And you probably by this point are thinking, yeah, but Cheryl, nobody watches TV anymore. Nobody reads magazines anymore or newspapers. Everything is online. And you would be partially correct. I mean, look, if you are selling something to teenagers or 20-somethings, using TikTok and Instagram is a super duper effective way of reaching them. But if you're not, if you're selling something premium, high priced to educated people over 40, organic social media is not the way to do it. I mean, especially if your ideal clients are Gen X or boomers, so people over 40. If they're established, educated professionals, people with actual money to invest in solutions, you absolutely need to understand this. Those people are not spending their days scrolling on TikTok for hours. They are not trying to keep up with the latest Instagram trends. They are watching the news. They are reading established, legit publications. They are seeking out credible experts to help them solve real-world problems. And When those same people see you being interviewed by the Today Show or 60 Minutes, quoted by the New York Times or Time Magazine, even featured on your local news, that is a completely different situation altogether. That conveys instant authority and credibility. When you're featured like that by major media, you're in a completely different category. When these billion-dollar brands put you on air or quote you in an article, they are essentially endorsing you to their entire audience. So at this point, you might be thinking, wow, all right, okay. Thank you, Cheryl. This sounds great. So I am just going to hire a publicist to get me on TV. And if you're thinking that, I totally understand why you might think that, because that is the way this industry used to work. But here's the thing that nobody's talking about with the PR world. The old model of knowing somebody who knows somebody is dead. It used to be that publicists had exclusive relationships with producers and gatekeepers, and you just needed to pay big time money to get in through the door. That's just not how it works anymore. Nowadays, the vast majority of publicists are simply middlemen. They pass along a generic, watered down version of your message and credibility because many publicists work with hundreds of clients, hoping that maybe one or two will actually stick. It's what is called the spray and pray approach. It usually costs huge amounts of money every single month for a tiny chance of success. Now, look, if you're actually famous already, like Taylor Swift, boy, having a publicist is great. They can manage and book media tours for you. If you're Nicole Kidman, by all means. When you're famous, publicists and PR firms are absolutely worth the investment. But if you're not Taylor Swift famous yet, then a publicist can be an expensive, wasteful cost. And more importantly, media outlets these days are overwhelmed with PR and publicist pitches. Now, because of social media and AI, major media gatekeepers don't have any time or interest in filtering through generic publicist pitches all day. I've got a team full of major media gatekeepers, and I hear that week in, week out. They see a publicist pitch, delete. Because today, major media outlets have completely changed what they're looking for. They no longer want the person with the fanciest publicist or the biggest marketing budget. No. Instead, these media outlets now want to deal directly with media-trained experts. And these outlets are desperately searching for those kind of media-trained experts, the kind that can provide exactly what their audience wants and needs, and make the producer look great in the process. So when you hear me refer to media training, that's what I'm talking about. Being able to speak the language of major media, being able to become the best friend and trusted resource of the major media gatekeepers because you know how their industry works. You know how a newsroom is constructed. You know exactly what they need and you give it to them, all while remaining 100% true to yourself and your brand. And there ain't no publicist in the world that's ever going to match that. Because once you know how to be your own publicist, you will be the best publicist in the world for yourself. You will always be a better brand champion and publicist than any publicist could ever be for you. You advocate for yourself better than anyone could ever advocate for you. Does this make sense? That's why this is exactly what I teach my clients what or how to do. I teach them how to become their own publicist, how to become a publicity machine themselves without paying some publicist $15,000 or $20,000 a month to send out generic press releases that no media gatekeeper will ever read. Look, I've been in major media for decades now, and I've seen what happens when business owners try to navigate the media world on their own. They make all the wrong moves unwittingly, or they hire these expensive publicists who promise them the world and deliver basically nothing. Maybe they get you onto one rando podcast that nobody listens to. Maybe they get you a feature in some random local newspaper that nobody reads, and then they send you a bill for $15,000 or $20,000 a month for a minimum of 6 months retainer, and they tell you, well, these things take time. But no, here's what I've discovered after years of working with experts and thought leaders. The ones who get the real results, the ones who become actual media darlings that producers call again and again and again, they all understand something crucial. They know how to be their own publicist. They know how to speak the language of media. They know exactly what producers are looking for, and they know how to deliver it. And that's what makes all the difference. That's what I teach. I'm not talking about teaching you how to write press releases that nobody reads. I'm not talking about spamming journalists with cold pitches. I'm talking about transforming you into the kind of expert that outlets fight over, and then introducing you to my own contacts, my own gatekeeper contacts. Now look, I can just imagine what some of you might be thinking at this point. Wow, that sounds like a lot of work. And you know what? You're absolutely right. It is work. But it's the kind of work that pays dividends for years. Once you learn these skills, once you understand the system, you have them forever. You can command headlines whenever. You can get on TV whenever. Compare that to whatever outbound marketing you are doing right now. Posting on social media ads, just running ads while your audience is trying to figure out who you are, doing all of that multiple times a day for years, hoping something goes viral. I'm talking about building a skill set that will serve you for the remainder of the life of your brand. I'm talking about a skill set that could potentially be the launch pad to break you through, so the people that are out there looking for you right now, praying for what you offer, can find you. I pray that today's episode is giving you some great insight on the publicist myth, and more importantly, how you can become the best brand champion and publicist that you could ever hope to have. Join me again next time as I provide even more information that you can put to use to get your message out to the world. In the meantime, would you please do me a favor? If today's episode was eye-opening and helpful in any way, please share it with your colleagues and friends, the ones that are experts who've built a brand or business with their expertise. And please subscribe and leave a written review letting people know that you did get value from the episode. I thank you in advance. If you help people with your work, your message matters. I want to help you magnify your message in every way possible. I'm Cheryl Hunter. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Join me again next time on Magnify Your Message.